We began by defining Zichron Trua as a Zichron of Trua, and in order to retain some consistency between the three items mentioned in this pasuk, apropos to the Lachem, from the standpoint of Pshat, the Lachem is understood to imply an obligation for Shabbaton, an obligation for Mikra Kodesh, and the obligation of Zichron Trua Rashi defines as Zichron, a recitation of Trua, Pesukei Shofrot. We then questioned the appropriateness of the term Zichron, which allowed us to redefine Zichron as the recitation of Pesukei Zichronot, but not, the Rebbe in the SICHAH maintains, referring to the second cycle of Zichronot, but as Rashi goes on to write, Lizkor Lachem Akedat Yitzchak. These are Pesukim that recall Lachem, the Akedat Yitzchak. And in doing so, Rashi can now offer a secondary reading for the word Lachem, namely for your benefit. That by reciting the Zichron Trua, that recitation becomes a benefit to the Bnei Yisrael. But not, as was suggested very early on, that this is a reminder, a Zichron to God of the ZECHUT the Bnei Yisrael have for the fulfillment of mitzvah Tekiyat Shofar, but rather the Zichron as a standalone reference to the recitation of Pesukim dealing with the Akedah. The recitation of these Pasukim on the day of Rosh Hashanah serve as a reminder to God of the Zechut owed on account of the Akedat Yitzchak, so that we are now parsing the word Zichron from the word Trua. At one level, the Trua is a Lachem, an obligation to recite Pesukei Shofrot. In addition, there is the Zichron through the recitation of Pasukim relating to the Akedat Yitzchak. This, hopefully, will remind God of the Mesirat Nefesh of Yitzchak and bring benefit to you, the nation, as his descendants. Which brings us to a diuk in the way Rashi has presented information regarding the Pesukei Zichronot. Logic dictates that what Rashi should have done was to have grouped the information relating to the Akedat Yitzchak and then add the Trua component, a reference to the recitation of Pesukei Shofrot, rather than, as he does, define the phrase Zichron Trua as Zichron Pesukei Zichronot, Pesukei Shofrot, and then clarify the Pesukei Zichronot as referring to the purpose of Pesukei Zichronot, which is Lizkor Lachem Akedat Yitzchak. To this, the Rebbe argues in the SICHAH, we have some precision at Rashi, that the insertion of the words Pesukei Shofrot between the first and third stanza, in addition to defining the word Trua as an obligation to recite Pesukei Shofrot, Rashi is also suggesting that just as the recitation of the Zichronot, the Pesukim dealing with the Akedah, are a reminder to God of the Zechut he owes to the Bnei Yisrael, so too is the function of the recitation of Pesukei Shofrot an indirect reminder to God of this very same Zechut, in that Shekarav Tachtav Ayil, that in his Yitzchak's place an Ayil was offered in sacrifice. The Ayil is connected to Pesukei Shofrot in that it is from the horn of the Ayil that we make the shofar for the fulfillment of mitzvah Tekiyat Shofar. As such, Pesukei Shofrot and Pesukei Zichronot share a common purpose, which is to Lizkor Lachem Akedat Yitzchak.